By Statistics Canada, nearly 66.5% of households own their homes. Yet, the 2020s unveiled a growing housing crisis in Canada. The Canadian housing market average prices just skyrocketed, with cities like Toronto witnessing a major household shortage. Driven by the increased immigration, low interest rates, demand outstripped the supplies very easily, causing some economists to speculate about a housing bubble burst. Today, the housing affordability dream seems distant, especially for millennials. Percentage of individuals aged 25 to 29 who owned homes decreased from 44.1 in 2011 to 36.5 in 2021. The demand and supply imbalance is just growing, with an increasing number of immigrants each year and a labor force eager to settle in urban centers where most of the commercial activity is concentrated. The country's housing shortages become more and more pronounced. Cities like Toronto and Vancouver are at the forefront of this crisis, where available homes are often snatched up within days, if not hours, by the current bidding wars. No condition offers, closing exactly as per sellers' convenience and demands. The housing crisis in Canada isn't just about skyrocketing real estate prices. It's a multifaceted issue, deeply intertwined with various sectors of Canadian economy. Let's discuss the causes, and there's some underway, some still to be worked upon, probable remedies. Firstly, let's address the elephant in the room, which is mortgage debt. During the pandemic's bank mortgage rates hit historical lows, enticing everyone and anyone and everyone who could to start borrowing and get a house, which has finally resulted in this huge debt. Canada's household debt accounted for 101.2 of the country's nominal GDP in December 2023. Housing affordability has been an issue for many years, but it has worsened even more since 2020. In 2023, the monthly single-family mortgage payment amounted to approximately 66% of the householder's income. To qualify for an average-priced home, prospective home buyers needed an annual income of between 78,000 to 237,000 Canadian dollars, depending on the city. To combat the soaring mortgage debt, revisiting mortgage policies, reevaluating and tightening the lending criteria must be essential. This can prevent potential future housing bubble burst, ensuring Canadians don't borrow beyond their needs, only what they can afford. Slow GDP. Canada's GDP growth has slowed to 1.4%, down from a robust of 4.6% 2 years ago. As housing prices climb, Canadians redirect approximately 30% of their spending from leisure and essential services to mortgage and associated costs. This shift dampens economic growth as other sectors suffer from reduced consumer spending. An indirect yet effective approach is strengthening the labor force with better wages and better job opportunities. By increasing per hour earning potential, which different provincial governments have been doing, the dream of home ownership becomes more attainable. Plus, a robust labor force can drive infrastructure and housing development projects, addressing the housing shortage from the root. Supply shortage. Canada has the lowest number of housing units per 1,000 residents of any G7 country. The number of housing units per 1,000 Canadian has been falling since 2016 owing to the sharp rise in population growth. An extra 100,000 dwellings would have been required to keep the ratio of housing units to population stable since 2016, leaving us still well below the G7 average. Much more policy focus should be devoted to finding ways to increase the responsiveness of supply to demand. Most approaches to achieve this are politically challenging but must be considered. Urgent creation of a national or provincial committees composed of federal, provincial and municipal authorities along with real estate developers, investors and civil society organizations comprehensively identify and tackle the obstacles to more responsive supply in all segments of the housing market. Foreign investments. The Canadian housing market allure has also caught the attention of the foreign investors like Chinese, Indians or Middle East. While this influx of capital could be seen as a vote of confidence in our country, it has undeniably contributed to making affordable housing a challenge for many Canadians like us. To improve affordability, the Canadian government has introduced a number of regulations such as a tax on vacant houses or underused housing that came into force in the early 2020 and an act prohibiting foreign commercial enterprises and non-Canadian citizens to or residents to buy property within our country. Federal government initiative. In response to the housing crisis, the federal government has allocated 40 billion over the last 10 years for the National Housing Strategy. This initiative addresses the housing shortage and ensures Canadians can afford homes in their very own communities. However, striking the right balance in intervention remains a complex challenge. Our housing crisis demands forward-thinking solutions for the Canadian housing market to stabilize, and a multi-pronged approach to is extremely essential. Encouragingly, the federal government's 40 billion National Housing Strategy Fund aims to address this over a decade, signaling significant commitment at the national level. Streamlining construction permits can potentially increase the housing supply, directing. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and see you in the next one.